Welcome to Amatale's Lab, where lying wives and sneaky girlfriends finally get exposed. From girls' trips that never happened to coworkers who were a little too friendly, we break down every red flag, messy receipt, and suspicious text with humor, shock, and just a little bit of petty. Expect wild stories, dramatic reactions, and satisfying karma as the truth comes crashing through the door. If you love relationship tea, plot twists, and seeing players get played, this channel is your new home. Every single chaotic, jaw-dropping, binge-worthy episode. Hit subscribe and never miss a fresh dose of exposed cheating. Don't forget to check our previous stories. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my ex, Bria Monroe, ever did was stand in the doorway of our Fort Washington, Maryland house, look at my packed duffel like it was trash day, and say, "You can't stay here tonight. You make the air heavy." Her brother Darnell leaned on the porch rail like a bouncer. Her auntie Yvette sat inside with her shoes off like she already owned the place. Bria didn't tremble, didn't soften, didn't blink. She just pointed outside and watched me step off my own welcome mat. Here's how it happened. My name is Kylon Brooks, born and raised between Baltimore and Prince George's County. I'm the kind of man who fixes things instead of talking about fixing them. I worked facilities in D.C., took overtime when I was tired, and still came home to change light fixtures and patch drywall, so our place stayed solid. I wanted a home that didn't feel temporary. Bria used to say she loved how steady I was, how I never made her feel like she had to worry. I believed that meant something. I didn't realize steady was just a word people use before they decide you're boring. We met at a cookout in Hyattsville, the kind with too much music and not enough chairs. Bria laughed at everything I said like I was the funniest man alive. She held my hand like she was proud to be seen with me. Early on, she'd look at me and say, "You feel like peace." I chased that feeling for years. When we got married in Baltimore, her family clapped loud, hugged me hard, called me son. I took it like it was real. The truth is, some families don't adopt you. They just study you until they find your weak spot. The house came after a string of rentals and promises. We toured properties all over Prince George's County until Bria fell in love with one in Fort Washington. Hardwood floors, bright kitchen, a little backyard that looked like Sunday mornings. She wanted a house that looked like success. I wanted a house that felt like safety. I put most of the down payment down, money I saved from years of work, and one small inheritance my father left me. Bria contributed too, but not like me. I wasn't keeping score. I thought marriage meant both of us were winning. My father used to say, "Love is loud, but paperwork is forever." He learned that the hard way in Cleveland when someone he trusted smiled through a divorce and walked away with what he built. When we bought our house, I took that lesson seriously. At closing, while Bria was taking pictures with the keys like a trophy, I read the deed line by line. The language was dry and boring, but I treated it like scripture. I asked questions, made sure things were clear. Bria rolled her eyes and said, "You always doing the most." I smiled and kept reading anyway. The crack started quietly. Bria began comparing me to men we didn't even know. "Look at how he dresses. Look at how he talks." She'd say it like motivation, but it felt like a slow insult. Then she started staying out late with coworkers from her job in D.C., always with a reason that sounded responsible. I'd be home cleaning, cooking, paying bills, telling myself this was normal adult life. When I asked what was wrong, she'd hit me with that cold, calm voice and say, "You're imagining things." The house got bigger, but somehow I felt smaller inside it. The humiliation came in front of people. At a birthday dinner in National Harbor, Bria joked that I was too sensitive, and her friends laughed like I was a punchline. When I got quiet, she leaned close and whispered, "See, there you go again. Heavy." She started saying that word like it described me fully, like I was a storm cloud she couldn't wait to escape. I kept trying to fix it the way I fix everything. More effort, more patience, more silence. I didn't understand that some people don't want you better. They want you gone. My best friend Marcus, the one who stood next to me at the wedding, started calling Bria sis too comfortably. He'd text her to check on her and then dodge my eyes when I walked into a room. I asked him straight up what was going on, and he gave me that fake laugh men use when they want to hide. "Bro, you tripping?" Bria watched me question him and acted almost entertained, like my suspicion was proof I was the problem. That's what hurt the most. Not just betrayal, but the way she treated my pain like it was childish. One night, I came home early and heard voices in my kitchen. Not loud, just close. Bria snapped around when she saw me, and Marcus stepped back too fast, like he'd been caught leaning into a lie. Bria didn't apologize. She didn't even look guilty. She just stared at me like I interrupted something important and said, "Can you not start your drama tonight?" Marcus muttered something about leaving, and as he walked past me, he wouldn't meet my eyes. That moment wasn't an explosion. It was worse. It was a quiet confirmation that I was alone in my own home. After that, Bria's family got bold. Her mother started dropping by unannounced, sitting in my living room like she had a deed in her purse. Auntie Yvette would talk about women needing security while staring at me like I was the threat. Darnell made jokes about men who can't keep a woman happy right in front of me. Bria never defended me. She smirked when they did it, like it was entertainment. When I asked her why she let them disrespect me, she said, "Maybe you should earn respect." I remember standing in our hallway, hearing that, and realizing I was married to somebody who enjoyed my shame. The lockout happened on a Tuesday. Plain, ugly, normal Tuesday. I came home from work with a stiff back and a grocery bag, and my key didn't turn. I tried again, thinking the lock was stuck. Nothing. Then the porch light came on, and Bria appeared behind the glass, calm as a receptionist. Darnell stood behind her. Auntie Yvette was already inside. Bria opened the door just enough to speak and said, "You have 1 hour to get your things. You're not sleeping here again. No tears. No discussion. Just eviction from my own life." I stood there in the cold, the groceries sweating in the bag, and my mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. Bria tossed my duffel onto the porch like she was doing laundry. I asked her, "Where am I supposed to go?" And she shrugged like I asked about the weather. Not my problem. Her mother laughed from inside. Actually laughed like my shock was comedy. Darnell lifted his phone and started recording, smiling wide. Bria looked at me and said, "Don't make this harder. You always make everything heavy." Then she shut the door gently, like she was closing a file. I moved onto my cousin Reggie's couch in West Baltimore with 2 bags, a box of papers, and a rage I didn't know how to hold. Reggie didn't ask questions. He just made space. Still, every morning I woke up to his kids running through the hall and that quiet grown man's shame sitting on my chest. I go to work in D.C. and pretend I was fine, then come back and stare at my phone like it might suddenly explain how someone could erase you overnight. Bria never called to check on me. She only texted rules, when I could pick up items, what I wasn't allowed to touch. Bria started rewriting the story immediately. She told people I was unstable, controlling, emotionally draining. And because she said it with a straight face, people believed her. Marcus backed her up, like he was auditioning for a role in my downfall. He told a mediator I made her feel unsafe. That lie hit different, because it came from a man who knew me. Bria's family repeated it like scripture. I'd see posts online about choosing peace and protecting your energy, and I'd know those words were aimed at me. They turned my love into a warning label. Mediation felt like punishment. In a conference room in Greenbelt, Bria sat across from me with her lawyer and that same calm smile, like she was ordering food. She wasn't there to compromise. She was there to win. She wanted the house, full title, full possession, like I never existed. When my attorney mentioned fairness, Bria leaned back and said, "I deserve to be comfortable. He'll figure it out." Not once did she show remorse. Not once did she admit the lockout was cruel. She talked about me like I was a tenant who broke the rules. Every time I tried to speak, she rolled her eyes like my voice was noise. The house became her stage. She posted pictures in my kitchen wearing a robe, coffee cup in hand, caption peace. She rearranged furniture like she was scrubbing me out of the corners. Meanwhile, I was begging HR for extra shifts and driving past my own neighborhood like it was a crime scene. The hardest part was the silence at night. No keys on the counter. No familiar creak of the stairs. Just Reggie's couch and the feeling that I'd been demoted from husband to ghost. I tried to hold myself together, but some mornings I'd sit in my car outside work and just breathe through the pain until it passed. I didn't want revenge at first. I wanted my life back. I wanted my dignity back. But Bria made sure I couldn't even grieve in peace. She started keeping my tools, claiming they were marital property, while I was still paying bills tied to that house. She missed payments out of spite, then blamed me for the late fees. She told mutual friends I abandoned her, even though she locked me out. People I thought knew me started acting awkward, like my pain was contagious. I watched my name get dragged through rooms I wasn't allowed in anymore, and I realized something. She wasn't just leaving me. She was trying to erase me clean. One night, digging through the box of documents I kept under Reggie's coffee table, I found a closing paperwork. It smelled like old ink and false optimism. I wasn't looking for magic. I was looking for proof, something steady in a story that kept shifting. That's when I remembered my father's voice. Paperwork is forever. I pulled out the deed and read it again, slower this time, with a highlighter and a headache. Buried in the legal language was a clause I'd insisted on at closing, a restrictive transfer provision designed to stop exactly this kind of weaponizing. It wasn't dramatic. It was simple, sharp, and real. The clause said that if the marriage dissolved, nobody could keep exclusive possession without refinancing into their sole name within a set window. If they couldn't refinance, the property had to be sold, mandatory sale, with proceeds divided after documented contributions. It also said missed payments could trigger the sale process early. I stared at those lines until my eyes burned. Bria had been acting like a queen sitting on a throne, but the deed didn't care about her attitude. The deed cared about numbers and deadlines. I called my attorney, Denise Carter, at 7 a.m. and read it to her out loud like I was praying. Denise went quiet, then said, "Kylon, this changes everything." Denise didn't promise me a miracle. She promised me a process. She told me to gather every receipt, down payment proof, mortgage payments, repairs, taxes, anything showing what I contributed. I spent nights after work building a binder like my life depended on it, because it did. Bria thought I was broken on a couch. She didn't realize I was rebuilding myself quietly in paper and ink. Denise also checked the mortgage records and found 2 missed payments and late notices. Bria had been playing games with the bills. The house was not safe in her hands. That alone made my stomach turn. She'd rather burn it down than share it. Corday in Upper Marlborough felt like walking into a room where everyone already decided who you were. Bria arrived in a cream suit, glossy lips, confidence like a weapon. Her family sat behind her like a jury. Marcus sat near them, eyes forward, pretending he didn't know me. I felt my chest tighten, but I kept my face still. Denise told me, "Don't perform pain. Let the documents speak." Bria's lawyer painted me as unstable and spiteful. Bria watched me the whole time with that little smirk, like she wanted me to crack publicly. I didn't give her that satisfaction. I just held my hands together and waited for the truth to get its turn. When it was time, Denise stood up calm and clear and asked to enter the deed into the record. The room shifted. Bria's lawyer frowned like he didn't like surprises. Denise read the clause slowly, word by word, so nobody could pretend they missed it. Then she said the part that hit Bria like cold water. Ms. Monroe has not refinanced, cannot qualify to refinance based on her current debt profile, and has missed mortgage payments since Mr. Brooks was forced out. Bria's smirk finally wobbled. She leaned toward her lawyer, whispering fast. He flipped pages too quickly, like speed could rewrite reality. The judge asked Bria, directly, if she could assume the mortgage in her name and refinance within the required window. Bria didn't answer right away. She tried to argue emotion, how she needed stability, how I didn't deserve the house, how she worked too. The judge didn't care. The judge asked again, "Can you refinance?" Bria's face tightened with rage, not sadness. She snapped, "No," then she pointed at me and said, "He can't either." Denise nodded once and said, "Correct, Your Honor. That's why the clause mandates sale. It prevents weaponization." Bria's family shifted in their seats like somebody turned off their favorite song. The ruling wasn't loud. It was just final. The judge ordered the house listed for sale, with a timeline and compliance terms. Bria's shoulders stiffened like she was holding back a scream. She didn't look at me with remorse, only hatred, like I'd stolen something from her by refusing to be robbed. Outside the courtroom, her mother hissed, "You always were sneaky." Marcus walked past me without a word. Bria didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't even pretend she wanted peace. She said, cold as ever, "I'll make this take as long as possible." Denise pulled me aside and said quietly, "Let her try. Deadlines don't care about her feelings." The sale process exposed everything Bria tried to hide. The missed payments were documented. The late fees were documented. The condition of the house was documented too, because Bria stopped maintaining it once she believed she'd won. My garage workshop was damaged. The fence I built was broken. The inspection report read like proof of disrespect. Buyers negotiated hard, cutting into the profit Bria thought she was entitled to. Every reduction felt like karma with a calculator. Bria fought every step, delayed showings, argued over repairs, but each delay cost money. And money is a language the courts understand perfectly. When the proceeds were finally calculated, the documented contributions part did exactly what it was designed to do. Denise presented my binder, down payment records, years of mortgage payments, tax receipts, repair invoices, even emails confirming I funded major upgrades. Bria had less documentation because she lived off assumptions and attitude. The split wasn't the fantasy she'd been bragging about. She still got a portion, realistic, legal, fair, but not the crown. Not the house. Not the victory she wanted. Her face stayed hard when she heard it. No remorse. No regret. Just that same bitter stare, like fairness itself was an insult. Karma landed again when Bria tried to rent a place on her own afterward. Those missed mortgage payments followed her like a shadow. Landlords asked questions. Credit checks did what credit checks do. No emotion, just truth. She ended up back with her mother in Suitland, still talking like she was robbed, still blaming me for the consequences of her own choices. She told anyone who would listen that I got lucky, that I found a loophole. A loophole is something hidden. This was printed in plain English on a deed she never bothered to read. The real punishment wasn't humiliation. It was reality refusing to bend for her ego. When my check hit, I didn't celebrate loudly. I sat in my car in a quiet parking lot in Baltimore County and stared at the deposit like I didn't trust good news anymore. Then I breathed, one long breath that felt like my lungs remembered how to work. I paid off my truck, cleared the debts that stacked up while I was couch living. I didn't buy jewelry. I didn't post online. I didn't call mutual friends to brag. My revenge wasn't showy. It was stability. It was getting my feet under me again without asking anybody for permission. Denise helped me set up a small trust and buy a modest place outside Baltimore, a home that felt like peace without needing approval. No flashy neighborhood, no performance, just solid walls and quiet. I furnished it slowly, quality over noise. I built a new workshop in the back and hung my father's old hammer on the wall, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. I didn't lose my life. I lost a person who didn't deserve access to it. Some nights, I still felt the sting of the lockout, but it didn't own me anymore. I started sleeping through the night again. That alone felt like success. I ran into Bria once at a grocery store in Waldorf months later. She looked the same, style sharp, eyes cold. No apology. No softness. She glanced at me and said, "So you think you won?" Like she needed the world to be a scoreboard. I kept my voice low and said, "I think I'm free." Then I walked away with my bag in my hand and my chest steady. The comeback wasn't me humiliating her. It was me refusing to be destroyed. Her story still needed an audience. Mine didn't. I went home, locked my door, sat in the quiet, and let the air finally feel light. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.